Let's be frank. If you clicked on this video, I don't think you need me to tell you how impactful of a character Storm is in Marvel. The first black female superhero to do it. The historical and cultural barriers she broke as one of the core leaders of the X-Men, and a global iconic status that rivals DC's Wonder Woman. Storm is quite literally the most important superhero and full stop under Marvel's umbrella. So relevant in fact that she's made her way across media, from comics to eventually TV shows, movies, and relevant to us, video games. And not just any video games, but fighting games. Storm as a fighting game character has also had a really iconic run, establishing her gameplay identity in the early X-Men fighters, then peaking in power in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, then diminishing through Marvel vs. Capcom 3, saved briefly by one of the FGC's most respected players who took a mid-tier Storm all the way up to an EVO title through pure synergy to nothing. But how could this happen? Why would this happen? Cartel, my people, my babies, my dogs, what's going on with y'all boys, man? You already know what time it is, man. It's your boy Golden Ghost, and welcome back to the Golden Ghost Cartel. And today I would like to answer a couple of questions. Why Storm as a fighting game character so difficult to get correct? Why Storm was removed from fighting games? And why I believe Marvel Tokon solved both of these problems in a single evolution of the character. And in order to even get the ball rolling on this, it's only appropriate to start from the top. So let's begin. Golden Ghost Cartel. Storm's story in fighting games doesn't start as a footnote. It starts as a headline. 1994, Capcom, X-Men, Children of the Atom. This game would eventually spawn the entire Marvel vs. Capcom lineage. Storm wasn't some afterthought roster filler. She was one of the most complete characters in the entire cast narratively and especially mechanically. She had access to an 8-way air dash and floating, which doesn't sound like much until you realize that they gave her more freedom of movement than almost anybody else in that game. She could stall in the air and use lightning attack into Typhoon, basically making her nearly impossible to pin down. And her jumping heavy punch alone was so good it became known as a floating JHP spam, because that's literally what people did with it. Yeah, her stamina was low, yeah, trading hits with her was a losing game, but if you played her right, no matchup in the entire game was considered unwinnable for Storm. Right out the gate, in the very first game that started this whole lineage, Storm was already a genuine problem character. Then X-Men vs. Street Fighter comes out around 96, and instead of scaling her back, they doubled down on her identity. This is where Lightning Attack and Lightning Storm really get cemented as her signature tools. The ability to send out a lightning ball, then redirect the attack mid-animation by holding a direction, meaning she wasn't just throwing projectiles, she was controlling the trajectory of the storm itself while it was already happening. Combine that with the Whirlwind, Double Typhoon, and her flying lightning ball setups, and what you get is a character whose entire kit is built around one idea: keep you out, control the space, and don't let you breathe. And then right when you expect her to carry that momentum forward into the next entry, she doesn't. Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes drops in 1998, the game that literally puts Marvel vs. Capcom in the title for the first time. The start of the actual lineage we all know of today. So imagine my surprise when I come to find out that Storm isn't playable on this game at all. Instead, she's relegated to just a special assist, special help character. Captain America, Gambit, Hulk, War Machine, Venom, Spider-Man. That's your Marvel side, no Storm. After 2 straight games establishing her as a legitimate zoning threat, she gets cut from the exact franchise that she helped build. So when Marvel vs. Capcom 2 comes out in around the year 2000, this isn't just a comeback, this is a full reinstatement. And she doesn't get just slid back in quietly. According to the most respected, longest standing community tier list, Storm sits in God tier, not high tier, not top tier, God tier. alongside Sentinel, Cable, and Magneto, and by most accounts, Sentinel and Storm are considered slightly above the other two in that same bracket. Let that settle in for a second. Out of a roster of 56 characters, in the very game she'd been cut from just 2 years prior, Storm was regarded as one of the 2 best characters in the entire game. And she got there almost entirely off the back of tools that, when you actually look at them, had nothing to do with the weather as a coherent system. Her lightning attack could be thrown in basically any direction and cancel straight in the fly, meaning yeah, she could zone you out, then she could retreat and come right back in with the same move on loop. Her Typhoon and Double Typhoon covered full screen and, as an assist, would not lose to a single projectile clash, ever. Her Heavy Punch Normal basic ground button had the range of an actual projectile, and on top of all that, she could build a full bar meter off of one single super jump for free, just by floating and whiffing lightning attacks in the air where you couldn't even touch her. According to Super Combo's own breakdown, Storm's only real weakness in that entire game was low health. Everything else about her was pure strength, and that's the problem I want you to notice. None of that is weather manipulation. That's a mobility and meter economy abuse case that happened to have lightning animations on it. And that's what I want you to sit with, because this is the whole crux of what we're building towards. Storm being God tier in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was one of the most impressive achievements a character in this franchise has ever had. But if you strip away the tier list and you just ask yourself, is this really what Storm's power set should feel like? The answer gets a lot more complicated. She wasn't dominant because the game captured her identity as a weather manipulating goddess. She was dominant because a handful of disjointed normals happened to synergize really well with flight cancels and chip damage. It's a phenomenal character. It is not mechanically actually Storm. She peaked in power at the exact same time she started drifting away from who she actually is. So Marvel vs. Capcom 3 rolls around in 2011. And this is where the God tier Storm from MVC2 comes crashing back down to earth. Mechanically, this is a completely different character wearing the same lightning bolts. She still has the flight, still has the float, still has the 8-way air dash that lets her outmaneuver damn near the entire cast. That part of her identity survived, but everything that made her threatening got gutted. Her hit stun is infamously bad, making her combos fall apart before they can even really start. Her base damage is low. And here's the part that really stings if you played her in MVC2. Her zoning, the entire reason she was a problem character in the first place, is now flat out weak without meter and X Factor active. She still had one genuinely scary tool, Hailstorm, a full screen OTG hyper that could lock you into a checkmate situation if she had resources to loop it. But strip away the meter, strip away the X Factor, and what's left is a fragile character running away and praying. And that's exactly why what Justin did with her matters so much, because at EVO 2014 in the actual grand finals, Justin Wong ran the team of Wolverine, Storm, and Akuma and beat Chris G 3-1 to take the entire UMVC3 title. Now let that sink in. Not did well with her. Won the entire tournament with a character that every single breakdown of that game calls mid-tier at best. That's not Storm being broken. That's one of the greatest players in this genre taking a character with real documented weaknesses and making her look like a problem through pure execution, spacing, and not knowing exactly when to commit. Justin didn't prove Storm was strong. He proved that Storm could be carried by greatness, which honestly might be worse for her in the long term because it meant her success was never really about her, it was about who was playing her. And meanwhile, outside of the fighting game scene, she's not disappearing, she's actually still everywhere. X-Men First Class drops in 2011 with a young Storm cameo. Days of Future Past in 2014 brings her back, and by 2016 Alexandra Shipp is playing her with actual screen time in X-Men Apocalypse. On mobile, she's a playable champion in Marvel Contest of Champions, and starting in 2014 in the Marvel's Future Fight in 2015. So culturally, across movies and mobile gaming, Storm's presence never really dips. But on an actual fighting game stream, she's clinging on by a thread held up by one man's execution. And that thread is about to snap completely. In 2017, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite comes out. And Storm isn't just weak this time, she's not there at all. Neither is the entire X-Men roster. No Wolverine, no Cyclops, no Magneto, no Storm, nobody. Mind you, this is the exact cast that started the whole Versus series lineage with X-Men Children of the Atom, the game we opened the entire video with, wiped from the entire franchise that they built. Now here's the actual reason why. Disney pulled the Marvel license from outside publishers back in 2012 to focus on publishing their own games in-house. Meanwhile, Fox held on to X-Men and Fantastic Four film rights all the way up until the Disney-Fox merger in 2019. Infinite released in 2017, right in the dead center of that gap, meaning the X-Men were basically politically unusable for Capcom at that exact moment in time. And when a producer's comments started circulating along the lines of the X-Men not being as popular as they used to be, the community did not take that well at all. That quote alone became one of the most repeated pieces of ammunition against the entire game. Try to understand how that feels if you were a longtime fan. This is a franchise that started with X-Men on the cover. Storm herself was there from game 1. And now you're booting up a mainline Marvel vs. Capcom title, and the character that helped build this entire genre isn't just weaker, she's not a footnote, she's not a joke tier pick, she is completely absent from the game. She's been cut once before already, from the very first Marvel vs. Capcom back in '98, but that cut lasted a single game. This cut, this erasure, was going to last years. And through all of that, she still didn't completely vanish. She just went quietly. She stayed playable in the mobile games that already picked her up. Contest of Champions and Future Fight kept her around this entire time. And a few years after Infinite, in 2020, she showed up as a Fortnite skin during Chapter 2 Season 4. None of that really put her back in the fighting game conversation, but it just meant that somewhere in some corner of the internet, Storm was still technically alive. Just not where it actually counted. By 2020, the X-Men were still nowhere near a fighting game, but something else happened that nobody saw coming. On December 6, 2024, NetEase dropped Marvel Rivals, a free-to-play hero shooter, and right there on the very first launch roster, Season 0, there was Storm. Now let me be clear about what this is and isn't. This is not a fighting game. This has nothing to do with combos or footsies or nothing like that. But what this does have is scale. And I mean scale that dwarfs almost anything else Marvel has touched in gaming in years. Just 36 days after launch, Marvel's Rivals had hit a peak of 644,269 concurrent players. That's not a niche audience. This is an enormous mainstream wave of eyes landing on the Marvel cast all at once. And Storm was standing right there in it from day one. Here's why that actually matters for everything we've been building up to. It doesn't make her fighting game relevant on its own. A hero shooter isn't a fighting game, and I'm not going to sit here and act like it is. But what it does is put the entire Marvel roster, mutants included, back in front of a massive modern gaming audience that may have never touched an old MVC game in their life. When a game like that blows up this hard, it puts pressure on the industry. It shows publishers and developers that there's still a hungry audience for these characters, done well in a completely different genre than the one that Capcom built. NetEase looked at Marvel and saw a hero shooter. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, a game that wasn't Capcom decided to take their own swing at Marvel too. And that, my friends, is where Arc System Works comes in. With Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls officially confirmed as a 4v4 tag fighter from PlayStation Studios, Arc System Works and Marvel Games launching August 6, 2026. Now here's the thing, I'm not just going to be talking about stuff off a trailer. I've actually played the betas, I've put hands on this game myself, and I've been in the Storm player Discord communities with people actively trying to break down this character and maximize her. So everything that I'm about to tell you isn't speculation, this is what the character does based off my experience. Storm's core mechanic is called Tempest. If you remember, we talked about all the way back in X-Men vs Street Fighter, where she could redirect her lightning bolt's trajectory mid-animation. Tempest is that exact same idea, but it's no longer a move. It's the entire foundation of her kit. Tempest doesn't just control Storm. It controls her projectiles, and it controls her opponent while she's comboing them. If you throw a projectile on its own, say an ice ball or a ground tornado, it just sits there stationary. But if you throw that projectile and follow it up with a Tempest, you can literally blow that projectile with the wind into your opponent at different directions, up, down, left, or right, depending on your positioning. She has 4 charges of wind that regenerate over time, so you could just jump in the air, throw an ice ball, blow it downward with the wind, and redirect it forward straight with the wind. And it goes even deeper than just zoning. You can attach Tempest to her normals and her throws to close the distance faster from further away. You can use downwind in the middle of a block string into a jumping heavy downward that causes an instant overhead. And in combos, this is where it gets absurd. You can literally stun someone with lightning in the air, then use down Tempest to get yourself back on the ground and push your opponent downwards back in front of you, buying yourself time to land another EX lightning special and then chain that into assist without ever dropping the combo, and to get full lightning loops going mid combo off of that wind manipulation alone. With Tempest, you're not just controlling Storm, you're controlling the elements, your combo potential, and the pace of the entire match. And here's the part that matters most for everything in this video that we've talked about. If you try to play her without touching the wind mechanic, she plays mid to borderline weak. But once you actually maximize Tempest in neutral, in zoning, in her combos, she turns into what I believe is an underrated high tier character at minimum. And unlike everything that we just walked through, MVC2's disjointed normals, UMVC3's meter dependent zoning, this isn't an accident. This is unapologetically Storm. You are manually, directly controlling weather as a system for the first time in this character's entire fighting game history. Now, I know there's a crowd out there that's not going to jive with Tokon or any modern Arc Sys game in general, because the pace feels slower compared to something like an MVC or older Arc Sys game. And that's fair, that's a legitimate preference, but I'm not judging this as an old school tag fighter or an MVC game. This was the first 4v4 tag assist fighter of its kind, and it deserves to be judged on its own merit. As far as my favorite comic book character of all time is concerned though, Arc System Works didn't just bring Storm back into the fighting game space. They built the single closest thing to a lore accurate Storm that we've gotten in a fighting game yet. Was Storm always mechanically important in fighting games? Yes, undeniably, from Children of the Atom in '94 all the way through God tier in MVC2. Did she ever have a system built around who she actually is instead of a kit stapled onto her name? No, not exactly. At least not until now. MVC2 made her dominant through disjointed normals and free meter. UMVC3 made her fragile and carried her only through Justin Wong's execution and influence. Infinite erased her, along with the rest of the X-Men roster, completely, for years, in one of the most painful gaps this fandom has ever had to sit through. But Marvel Rivals put her and the wider Marvel cast back in front of a massive audience, and that momentum is exactly what opened up the door for Arc System Works to take their own shot at her. And with Tempest, for the first time in over 30 years of fighting game history, Storm isn't just a strong character who happens to be Storm. She's finally, mechanically, unmistakably Storm. Marvel didn't erase her. They just made her wait for the right system to finally make her perfect. That's all I got for today, man. If y'all enjoy this type of content, y'all want to see more, man, please, for me, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff, and hit the hype button as well. That helps me out a lot. And as always, subscribe for some more from the Golden Ghost Cartel. GGC, we the best team in the league. And I'll catch y'all on the next one, man. Deuces.